Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Tetra Travels. A few weeks ago, I went on a helicopter ride over London. I'd seen it was a fairly good deal, and it was for two people, so I got it to go with a friend and see what it was like. I've always wanted to see London, like from the air, and also helicopters are always amazing to go on. My friend had never been on one, so it seemed like a perfect opportunity to give it a go and look over some of the sights as well as enjoy the ride. We booked it for the afternoon, so we didn't really have to be up that early. And we got out there for about 2 o'clock, so it was like a nice short drive. It was like towards the east of London, and yeah, really easy to get to. The directions I'd been sent were actually really helpful, so yeah, really easy to get to, and yeah, not a difficult thing. And they had them all over the country, so if you weren't around the London area, it would be possible to do this in other places as well. Before the event, I rang up and I explained I had a condition, and they sort of said that should be fine. We'll get you in the helicopter. We'll find a way. There should be a ground crew that can help me get in. So I felt kind of reassured that that was going to happen, and that yeah, I'd be able to go on the ride. I was also with my friend and my carer, so I thought between us all we should be able to get in. Although I'd had this clarification, I thought I better get there early, just because sometimes when they see you in real life, they don't realise quite the disability. So I thought if I get there early, I can explain everything, and hopefully things will run a bit smoother. So we went there, and we saw a few other helicopters taking off and landing, because they did like a rotation. So we saw the previous people, which was good fun to see, and yeah, sort of a nice warm up for like actually having to go ourselves. That was when we ran into a bit of trouble. It turned out that the ground crew weren't actually allowed to lift me into the helicopter, so we had a bit of an issue there, and I wasn't quite sure what to do at first. They never actually said this until right before we were due to take off, and like the helicopter was already landed, and things were like ready to go. They kind of, although I'd explained to them my situation, they thought that my carer and my friend were going to be able to lift me, but I don't think between them they would have been able to lift me high enough, so we had a bit of an issue. And the ground crew said that they weren't allowed to because of liability, etc. It all felt rather unfortunate and a bit shoddy, because it would have been nice to know beforehand, so that at least like I wouldn't have turned up, and it wouldn't have been so bad. But it was like, yeah, a bit annoying. But I do have to give them credit, because they did realise the situation wasn't ideal, and they did actually step in and help me. They were like, we shouldn't really do this, but the pilot, who wasn't contracted to the same rules, he sort of said, I can do it on a personal level. So there was the two pilots, and they stepped in, and they were like, yeah, we'll give you a help lift into the cabin. The cabin was sort of at my like head height, so they kind of had to lift me quite high, so I got someone front and back, and someone in the cabin, and then someone from the outside sort of lift my bum up. So yeah, someone under my knees, someone under my shoulders, someone lifting under my bum, and then somebody who was in the cab that when I got to a certain height kind of like grabbed me from inside. It all worked, and like I'm quite a robust sort of person, so I'm used to being thrown around a bit, so I didn't mind. It might not be so ideal if you're someone that can't be thrown around, or like has physical restrictions that wouldn't allow that. But for me, it was absolutely fine, and I was just really thankful that they actually did help me out and get me into the helicopter. So yeah, I give them a lot of credit for that. I don't want to get anyone in trouble though, so I won't actually admit the company that took me. I'll just sort of say the voucher company. But yeah, if you want that, it's in the link. But yeah, I won't point to the company, because I don't want them getting their pilots in trouble if they found out, because especially if they took the time to help me out. And yeah, I really appreciated it, because it allowed me to have a really great experience. As you can see, I was in the middle of the helicopter. I was actually struggling to keep my balance a bit, because the bench was quite short and quite slippery. By being in the middle, it meant I could kind of squash myself between the two people, and also be held up by my friend as we went along, so that really helped me. It was still a bit of a struggle, and I was sort of aching by the end of it, like holding myself up, but it was definitely worth it. It was only a short flight for about 40 minutes, so yeah, I would really recommend it. One thing I would say is that if you have a condition where you don't like crowding or small spaces, then it probably isn't the place for you, especially as on the trip you go with two strangers and you kind of have to squash in with them. So maybe some people that get sensory overload, that might not be ideal for. So just that's one thing to be aware of. As you can see, we went right over central London, over Westminster, and we also went past a lot of the central London and Canary Wharf. It was also really nice to look down and see where I work. I work in Westminster, so yeah, that was really nice to see. Flight was great, and I had great views over East London and Central London throughout, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it, so I'd really recommend it. I'd maybe think twice about booking it if you've got a disability like mine, but if you've got a slightly lesser disability and you would be able to get yourself up in there, I'd definitely give it a shot. Maybe if you looked around and researched, you'd be able to find a company that can help you out if you're in a position similar to me, or just really ring ahead and try and find out a bit more concrete before you go. Anyway, that's it for another week of the Tetra Travels. I really enjoyed this one, really good fun, and yeah, I'd definitely like to do it again at some point. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I'll hopefully keep reviewing things about how accessible they are and what my life is like in general. So yeah, have a great week, and see you soon.